Hey, what's up, guys? So we got our generation session in a couple days ago, and let's figure out what happened. At the end of the last session, excuse me, the connection was made with Maisha. She was able to do that life's embrace technique, that healing rain, and it did actually cure the sickness that's afflicting my planet, which I did think it. I wasn't sure if it would because the whole Quare energy thing is like it's very different than just like a biological attack. And like from reading the technique, it seemed like it was more like fix what ails you, but apparently it extends beyond that. And the other thing I later came out to find, because this is what happened in this session, was everybody got out of that like death pit, including people who were executed. So presumably in the and this is something that gets revealed later as confirmed, that it can bring people back to life who have recently expired. Um, Pretty insane. So like it's definitely a step up from what I thought it was going to be as far as a technique. And on the bright side, I did talk with the DM, and he said like, yeah, you won't get any advantages for purchasing it in the store. So I basically earned that technique the hard way, which is awesome. I don't know that there's a lot of techniques like that out there, but yeah, that's something to keep in mind. That was definitely a very satisfying feeling. It's like one of those ones like the player never expected it to really pay off, but I was like, you know what? I can see the character kind of like being at this very desperate point beyond his capabilities. Um, yeah, so him doing it and then actually seeing it pay off, it was a very cool moment inside of real world for me, because you know how it's like usually it's like you reach out to the ether for those things, and it's like, all right, player, you do so, and 15 minutes passes and nothing. Okay, DM, I go back to like doing the things I was trying to do, but this one actually it paid off. So I get out of that, and shortly thereafterwards, it feels like the connection is severed. And this is also new to me, that it's impossible to tell if it's just like the technique ended, if something broke, if something went wrong. It was hard to say. More on that later. I was like, well, it's like we don't have time to dwell on that right now. My planet is still dying. Uh, I get together with the people who went out with me. Where were they? It's like Corporal Liam and Corporal Lonnie and Private Jin. They're out there doing their best in this scenario, and we head back to the hospital where we were working. We accomplished our two goals. We averted the humanitarian crisis, which was like the body burn pits for people who they were thinking like this is a contagious disease, which it makes sense given that the Darklands is completely subterranean and on all of these closed circuit things when it comes to like air and stuff like that. Like outbreaks seem like they'd be especially vicious down here when it comes to diseases. So it made sense, even though it was terrible, which is like the running theme for a lot of the stuff. Like it comes up later, like Cass being like, hey, this plague that we're experiencing, it does what the guy thinks it's going to do. He's not wrong. It does make the survivors stronger, but it's at the cost of 70% of the population. Terrible, but it is effective. So the little like it seems like that's the new Itari way at this point. So we go back to the hospital, and I get brought up to speed with what's going on. I kind of explain or address a committee of doctors, which has grown at this point, as to what we're looking at. That it's curable, but not on a large scale. And and we're basically racing against the clock at this point, to where you're going to start to see a lot of fatalities in the next 2 days. So that combined with the idea that the treatments for it seem like they need to be based in this it seems like it's beyond the realms of science at this point, or at least the science of our world. So we have to look for a treatment using the Nui or Quare energy, or a combination of both potentially. Quare seems like it's good at like infection and like widespread thing, whereas like Nui is a lot more. At least the people that we've experienced, because like we do know, or we have established that like each person who is awakened and gifted has a specific area of gifts. So it's not like, you're just like Mr. Nui and Mr. Quare. There's usually a specific subset. Like, I think my thing is multifunctionality. So like I can perform tasks on various systems simultaneously, which is something that not many people, can do. What's it called? Like Aramus's thing is basically designing a virus from the ground up, and basically being able to control like various aspects about it, like kind of like writing it like you would a computer program. And one of the people we've revived, Dr. Alina, she is like Aramus. She has a similar gift and a similar propensity to him. And whenever I explained it to her and walked it through her, it actually made sense to her on a metaphysical sense. So like, yeah, there's others out there. Like I said, it's not like there might be like, I don't know that there's infinite possibilities with it, but like there's definitely possibilities, but also like the possibility of finding someone who has like a similar ability to you. Yeah. That being said, we're trying to hash out a plan to make this cure, to find a way to cure it or slow it down or stop it on a massive scale. And so far, the best we've come up with is getting Dr. Alina and trying to find others like her who might have the same propensity, and making them make like a retrovirus or a counter virus to the thing that's out there, that like something that attacks the virus, like the Quare virus. Calling it a virus is a very loose term. It's like an energy virus, and making one that kind of counters it, so that it can like suppress it, and we can maybe get out there and heal some stuff. It seems like it still like potentially might grind the planet to a halt, but it's like the difference between like massive collapse and like just 70% of the population dying is significant. We'll definitely take that option over the alternative. Yeah, so that's the plan we're going with. We're looking for more people like who showed like the passive recessive traits of Quare energy, which is something we had researched into, but our notes were confiscated whenever some bad stuff went down, and we don't know where they were moved to. But Lyria is awake now. She has access to some of her notes. So they're going to put something together, and try to like bring some people up to speed. Myriam pulls me aside and asks like, hey, with all the weird stuff that's been happening to you, which is me receiving my items, and then also he doesn't even know about Maisha yet. Holy heck, like he doesn't even know that I went out there and summoned healing rain or anything, so I didn't even tell him about that yet. But yeah, like the idea of, is there something with the more supernatural stuff that I'm currently experiencing that might be able to help us? And I was like, okay. I was like, I can like certainly try, because it's like one of those ones where taking me off the team is a little detrimental because of how I'm the most experienced, and I'm also very talented. Like I'm the most talented with the Nui arts, and I'm the most experienced with fighting this disease. So taking me off is definitely less than ideal, but the supernatural stuff no one else can even like attempt to do. Whereas like Myriam, Lyria, and like some of the people who are coming up, getting woke up, and then like getting brought into the fold can at least work on. So it's like I kind of have to go off on my own on that. And I was like, okay, like what you're saying makes sense, objectively. Like it's now I don't hold out a crazy amount of hope for like the items I got actually helping me with all of this, but the Maisha thing definitely. So I go back to the personal quarters, and I like kind of read over what I'm supposed to do. Um, I guess it'd be like more like Cass ponders over it. Like, George has a list that he sits there and reads. But like one of the things is like a daily meditation and like kind of prayer to like for like honoring Maisha, which, like I said, makes sense from a religious standpoint. Like, we're not outside the realms of nonsense yet. The tricky thing as far as like integrating Cass goes is New Atari just don't have religion. Like, there is no idea amongst their people of a creation story where there's gods and deities and they're mingling in the mortals' lives and stuff like that, like human culture does. So like that's what makes all this a bit of a leap. So I reach out and I do like the meditation, and it seems like now that the connection that was severed, it's more that there's like a barrier there. And it's like, I think the DM described it as like, imagine you're trying to push yourself through some iron bars where you just can't quite fit. But you could try to force yourself through. And I do that. And then the first time, like, I black out and I wake up with a nosebleed. And it's like, it is the idea that like it is going to be like a physical detriment, I guess. I don't want to say that because like I didn't end up being like super injured or anything, but it's like it is a strenuous ordeal to like make this connection, and I come to find out why, because I actually do make the connection. Sweet. The second time I attempt it, and like I said, I'm trying very hard to adhere to what she wants, like the humility, stuff like that, like lose like the Cass arrogance to a point, and also like a lot of it is rationalization of what's happening, but through rationalizing it, it's like he compares a lot of his experiences to what she's saying, so it's like that tricky thing of like he doesn't want to come off like, oh yeah, we're equals in this, like, kind of thing. It's like, no, you can like make it rain, magic rain, and like bring dozens of people back to the dead, and I can heal people. Like, there is a very real gap between us. So he reaches out, and the connection's made. She reaches out to me, and I touch her, and it feels like that connection is back, and we get to have a conversation. And like it's a little awkward because it's the first time we actually get to speak, and it's like you don't want to offend or overstep, so like there's a lot more caution than as far as just like the general flow of the conversation goes. But the long story of it shortened at least, is Maisha is the goddess of healing, and she is like the second rung of goddesses, or gods and goddesses, that like see over some realm. Well, I don't know like if it's universal, if it's like, I don't know exactly the size of their influence, but like the goddess of life is first rung, goddess of healing is second rung. She is in a severely weakened state, because the people that followed her, and I think she pronounced it humans. Like, it said the DM said it was like a weird pronunciation of humans, but it was like it was a one-off thing. I didn't really pick up on it because I didn't hear the DM clearly, but I think it was something like that. And I was like, wait, like there was a thing called humans, and it's something about like introducing a cybernetic into your body or something like that. It's like a mission, but it's like basically not related, presumably, possibly related. Who knows? But anyway, there was this being that hunted the humans to like the brink of extinction, and she was unable to protect them from this being. I don't know if it was conveyed as in the being was beyond her, or it was also a bit of personal neglect. Then I don't want to say that like a malicious way. It was more like she felt like she maybe could have done more. I'm not sure if that was even like the intention. That's just something I kind of pulled away from it. Like where it's like I should have or could have done more to protect the people who worshipped me. And she has one of those systems, which is like the more people that worship her, like the more temples she has, the more influence she has, the greater the connection she has. And she resides in this place called Shan Su Li. And it is a place between. I don't know. That's why I reached out and asked if anyone has ever heard of this or anything like that. I was like, man, I hope it's not like the Negaverse or something like that. You know, another name for the Negaverse. Who knows? Because I've always heard that was kind of a place in between, to an extent. But maybe I'm wrong there. I'll have to go back and read a couple of those Negaverse things that I think Eric unlocked just to be sure. Yeah, so she says she's basically there, and because that she doesn't have the followers or believers anymore, she's basically blind, and it's like she metaphorically blind to the plights of the realm that we exist in, but it can be restored through like bringing in followers, making her temples, things like that. So that's what's going to be Cass. Cass is going to be Johnny Appleseed, but for a goddess. He's going to be out there building temples and everything like that. And the DM and I joked about basically putting on Southern Baptist style what's it called, sermons. That'll be my play session is preaching to the choir, putting up a sermon, getting a little rag to wipe my forehead as things get hot and intense. But yeah, the idea is she, because like I explained to her what happened, whatever the rain. And I was like, there was people in there that I'm pretty sure were clinically dead, but she was able to bring them back. And she was like, she didn't know exactly what was happening. It was just more like that there was a place of great need here, so she exerted her power over it, and it did its thing. So I was like, okay, like this there's something affecting my entire planet, and like 70% of the people are gonna die. And it seemed like it was like one of those ones where it's like she struggled to do what she did because of her weakened state right now. So like being able to like do it for an entire planet is it's kind of, it's out of the question for the time being. Both I think my connection to her and her connection to this place. I said, well, okay, you know, like that's understandable. It's not like it wasn't even like disappointed, you know. It's like, yeah, it'd have been awesome if she could, but like the way she worded it, like Cass very much rationalized it. Like, yeah, like, yo, listen, if I could heal the planet like that, I would do it too. But like, I have my limits. Like, you know, why wouldn't something above me who has 100 times my limits still have a limit, kind of thing? So it's like there's still like that hierarchy intact, which I think helps Cass with the humility aspect of it. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully he's not coming off too arrogant. But they continue to talk, and he asks, well, you know, the important thing. Oh, there's a couple important things. One is she is shielding him from people that would want to hunt them down. So apparently there's someone out there hunting people of Maisha. So that's not a comforting thing at all. But she is able to shield me from them for the time being. I'm guessing once Cass gets powerful enough, that shield's going to be, you know, not so potent anymore. So we'll see what happens there. But she is using a portion of her power to do that. there aren't many wardens left of Maisha, so like she is kind of on her last legs, and I kind of like it as like liken it to the American Gods kind of thing of, like kind of the old gods where it's like there's just not many followers left, and their powers and influence is severely diminished, but still pretty fantastical in the grand scheme of things. Basically bringing people who are dead back to life and healing them from this horrible Quare disease, and like, soothing people and restoring them and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, it's a cool ability at the end of the day. We talk about rebuilding her temples, and I said, okay, like, listen, I'm going to handle this thing on my planet. I'm going to try my best to save my people, and then one way or another, I'll basically, I will become your warden. Like, I will do the things you've asked of me, which part of it is, kind of spreading the good word kind of thing. But, like, it's mainly through healing. And, like, I learned that, like, the temples must be open air, the healing must not be caged, no locked doors, no closed halls, no air must move freely. Their form should echo cycles of renewal, open domes, circles, spirals, helixes, things like that. So it's like because I got to ask her. I was like, well, wait a second. I was like, I'm imagining, the outside of the game. I was like, I'm pretty sure I can't just throw together a couple bricks. Like, does it need to be made of a special material? Is there a certain design like that she wants to be? Like, what constitutes consecrating an area as a temple of Maisha? And thankfully, because I was like, oh, thank goodness I asked this, because I was like, I'd be like, yeah, I'll go out and rebuild your temples, and I'm out there with like some boards and sticks and stones and like throwing together a little shanty shack, and they're like, what the hell is this? This isn't a temple. This is a shack with a Band-Aid station in it. But yeah. So I get the actual, like, I had at least the foresight to ask her in this limited time I had with her, how do I actually rebuild your temples? And she gave me an idea of it. It doesn't seem like it's super specific. It's just like it must have these qualities to it, which it's more of a design aesthetic. But I think it's like, yeah, there's probably some mystical element to it where it's like, okay, this is a temple of Maisha, and it allows her to form that connection. And then the idea too is to get more followers. The big thing she promises, which is going to help us in the long run, is if I can restore her, our people will become her chosen people. We will basically be like what the humans were to her, where it's like we follow her, but also we're protected by her, and we like kind of receive her blessing and her gifts. Which is, given that the children of the Genesis are probably going to come want to exterminate us, is a good thing to have in our pocket. Because before, it's like, when this plague wipes us out, guess what's going to happen here sooner or later? The children of the Genesis are going to come knocking with their extermination ray and be like, I thought we told you guys to not go out anywhere, and you guys are out there going out places. So that is it solves the, 30% of the population alive is still a species that gets to live in the galaxy. The children of Genesis coming to exterminate all of us, like, that's a bigger problem. So I have a solution to the bigger problem rather than the smaller one, which is definitely strange as far as real world things go. Usually it seems like, we got a solution for the small problem, but that big problem in the horizon, like, yeah, you're screwed with that one. It's like, well, we're a little bit reversed this time, which was definitely interesting. So we established that, and she said basically that she'll take us on as our chosen. And at some point, she actually, because I basically took a knee like before her and kind of bowed my head, because like you are supposed to approach her from like a place of reverence and stuff like that. And she lowered herself to her knees, and then like that's when she kind of confessed this idea that she had failed the people that followed her before, and that she wouldn't let it happen again. And she said, like, I'll protect your people. It's like, if you help me, I'll help you. And I kind of said together, and she like nodded, and we had this it was a very like kind of connecting moment between the two of us, where it's like there's a lot of suffering in the universe, and we can help with that. And we're gonna start here on my world, and then we're gonna branch our way out. There was like, oh yeah, so as far as the connection goes, it's a struggle for her to maintain because she's also using a portion of her power to shield me. But that I should never go to Shanxi Lu alone. It would be dangerous for me. So I basically need to make this connection before venturing here. Good to know. And I think that was it was kind of like that. She was flickering in and out, so I knew the time was going to be limited. But it was I kind of got to ask the questions I wanted of her. And I was like, okay. I was like, there's work to do. I was like, I'm going to try to save my people, and then the idea is whoever I can save, then we convert them to be followers of Maisha. We're good people for that. It definitely requires a lot of altruism. You're not out there charging for things. I think the way I'll probably do it is a donation kind of system where it's your donations go towards keeping this place running, any kind of upkeep, any kind of medical supplies. Because it's the idea is it seems to be altruistic, but yeah, it's if you get too many donations, then you donate them to the less fortunate. And that's one of those things. Cass is gonna have to go back. I don't know how it's gonna go. I've got I have a nice sports car, I got a nice house. So I'm gonna have to give up some worldly goods to follow this path. Not as much comfort in my life going forward, but my life's already pretty uncomfortable, so I figure whatever at this point. That covered the first half of my session. I'm going to try to wrap that up. The second half of my session is I get up and I get back, and it turns out I was out for the better part of a day, which is entirely too long, because now I only have about 24 hours left before people start dying in mass. Even less than that, I think. It might be I honestly don't know. I'd have to clarify on the DM on the timeline of that. Yeah, so I work out a plan with Myriam and Lyria. They bring me up to speed of where they are. They've got a better part of a dozen people that are kind of like Dr. Alina. Some of them, I think three or I think it's five have the similar traits to her. Because it's a numbers game. It's there's some of the people can come out of this naturally. Some of them need healed. And like I said, basically you have 10 people and 7 of them drop over dead at this point. So of that, it's small portions of small portions. And we work out a plan where I'm going to try to have them interact with diseased patients with my Nui oversight, and work out either how to attack the virus or do it without killing the patients, because that's going to be the big challenge. And then the other thing is I'm going to use Myriam as a living lab rat for these people to experiment with Quare energy on, with me basically being the buffer to keep Myriam from getting too bad. And the idea being is Myriam is a Nui user, so he's more resilient. Lyria is too good at the oversight of all of this to pull away, whereas Myriam is just another helping hand. So that's why it kind of falls on him. But we're basically going to let them kind of flex their Quare energy about kind of to get an idea of what its potential is in real time, as opposed, and it's very unethical, but it's he volunteered, I explained it to him, and it's yeah, listen, I'm going to do what I can to protect you from this and keep it from going out of control, but we need to get these people up to speed, because otherwise it seems the virus idea, the retrovirus, it's maybe something I could do with years of practice, but it's just something that's too new to me, and it's too foreign from what my gift is. So that's kind of the, unless there's some sort of big aha or, awakening thing inside me, it's we need these other people to be able to do it. So Myriam volunteers for that, and I think that's about where I was put on pause. There was a lot more back and forth between Myriam and I, talking about what I discovered. I was well, listen, I didn't get us the solution to 70% of our people dying, but the idea that there is a race coming to kill us, like, I think I have a solution for that. So, like, we'll take what we can get, I guess. So Lyria came over and she was like, "Are you leaving me out of this?" And I had purposely left her out of it because it's like the idea of she's very good at focusing on the task at hand, and it's like when you introduce like the external variables and stuff like that, it's like things get a little worse. So, and she's like, "Okay, like I understand why you did. Like, it's like you're not leaving me out of the loop. It's like you understand how I work the best and where to go from there." So that was where the session ended. We're basically going into it with we're trying to bring these people up to speed. We're going to try to get them to harness Quare energy and like experiment on Myriam, and we're going to try to work together to make some sort of retrovirus. We also tracked down an engineer to like be able to introduce it to the air system if we can make it airborne. It doesn't solve the problem of Nui proper, but like we're at one step at a time at this point. And we're gonna go from there. But that's where I was put on pause, and that was my session.